I'd like to call the meeting to order. If everyone would please stand, we'll say the pledge and the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first thing on the agenda tonight is our oath of office for our newly elected board members, returning board members. If I could please have Christy come up first.
Let's put an applause, Kenny. That's good.
There you go. This for all you guys.
I, Christy Fishman, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of school board member according to the best of my ability.
Now we can.
Oh, wait, hang on.
Okay, and next would be, where is Mike Lydgate?
Michael White.
Yeah, wow, big letters everywhere. Outstanding. Yes, please.
So for people that are watching this at home, we have the OWL system set up because the board is here live, and then we are also doing this on Zoom. The board members that did just one re-election are being sworn in.
Just sure that I, Michael White, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of President.
President of the Board of Education according to the best of my ability.
We're the Democrats. He's right here, folks. Hey, that's Pearl. That's good job, Pearl. Yeah.
Okay, and the next thing on the agenda is the election for the nominations for president of the board. The floor is open for nominations for the president of the Board of Education. We did have 2 intent emails. Yeah, right. For the position of president, Randy Hoyt and Andrew Martin. So if there are no other nominations, a motion is needed to close the nominations and vote on Randy Hoyt or Andrew Martin as president of the board. And then we have down first. So if we can close nominations for this, could I please have a vote? I'm sorry, to close the nomination. Okay. If someone would make a motion, we're going to start with Andrew Martin.
I'll make a motion.
Right.
Okay, and I need show of hands for in favor of Andrew Martin for board president. And opposed? No, I don't believe. All right, and then I do need, we can go to Randy Hoyt. I need a motion. I do need a motion now.
The same person with me.
Second.
Okay, and vote in favor, please show of hands. And against? Or an abstain. Andrew Martin has been appointed president of the Board of Education for the 2021 school year. And Mr. Martin, if you come up, I will give you your oath, and this one just say president.
Again, not sure how much you heard, but Andrew Martin was voted in as board president. He is being signed.
Martin, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of President of the Board of Education according to the best of my ability. All right, with that, we'll move in to electing our vice president. So we have one intent letter from Christy Fishman. If there are no other nominations, then I need a motion to close nominations. Second. McCarthy and Lloyd second to close nominations. All those in favor? Thank you. And with that, I will make a motion to elect Christy Fishman as vice president. Can I have a second? Second. Second by Mrs. Sundin, I heard. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? And abstain? Congratulations.
Christy Fishman was just elected as vice president and is being sworn in.
That's right.
What?
Hold the Joe Biden. We got to vote.
I, Christy Fishman, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Vice President of the Board of Education according to the best of my ability.
All right, we'll continue our reorganization meeting. I need a motion for item E, appointment of board officers, which would be Lisa Fox as district treasurer, Stacy Gleason as deputy treasurer, Pearl Horn as district clerk. Motion by Mr. McCarthy, second by Mr. Loye. Any discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. And with that,
I, Pearl Horn, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of district clerk according to the best of my ability.
Pearl Horn was just sworn in again as the board clerk.
I get a motion to accept item F, board appointments.
Motion?
Second. Mr. McCarthy with the motion, Mrs. Fishman with the second. Any discussion on item F?
This is going to be a somewhat like a facetious question at this time. Has there been any discussion that we're going to have a COVID coordinator or a, that going to fall into
No.
something else?
No, there is not.
That, I mean, that falls to you as superintendent.
Yes.
For everything.
Yep.
There's discussions in healthcare about it.
Yeah, no, it would be me essentially responsible for it.
Are you also the return to work point person? Like, I know every business needs one, I assume.
Yes. And I'm gonna give the update on the superintendent's report on what people are filling out right now every day before they come in.
Okay. Any other discussion on F? All those in favor? It's unanimous. All right, now we'll move into item G, not a motion yet. We got to get some names. So bank, newspaper are listed, regular monthly meetings traditionally, and which is what Pearl has listed here, are Mondays 2 times a month. We've traditionally done 6:30 p.m. I'll keep that the same unless someone has a different opinion.
Tough to get people there at 6, right?
Definitely is for me, yeah.
Like that? No,
Yeah.
I understand.
All right, so 6:30. Board representative to Oswego County School Board Association. I'm willing to do that again, but I'm also not certainly not opposed if anyone else is interested in doing that. All right, I'll put myself down for that. Adopted board members, I'll just start over there with Mr. Hoyt and work my way around if it's good with everyone as far as preference, as far as adopted school.
I'll take the high school this year. High school.
All right. Okay.
CSI, just you two?
There won't be no CSI.
I think you do that.
I'll do, it on.
All right. George?
Middle school?
Actually, Andy, can I go back? I've never done Peru. Can I do Peru?
No, I do middle school. Both my grandsons are there.
Mr. McCarthy at Brewerton? Not a problem.
You already get Steve? Or should we get him last week?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sworn
The
back.
last week I gotta get him sworn in, I think, first. Cole? Nickerson.
Right now, we are in the.
Way to step out of your comfort
So
zone.
the board is going around.
You got Hastings, Transportation, and Maintenance.
What I had last time,
Great question.
and,
I know you guys need to.
I'm transport this time. Oh, you want that?
Don't have it.
I mean, you have it.
Well, this is the first year.
Give it to her, I'll do maintenance again, I don't care. I mean,
So Transportation, Maintenance,
Yeah, sure.
Main. Congratulations, Mr. Patch, by default.
No, well, what are we getting?
I get nothing.
Okay, what do I get?
Oh, sorry.
Well, I can have.
Sorry, Miller Falk is an option as well. Mr. McCarthy chose Brewerton, so. Since you already have that.
I'll take the Hawk.
Steve wants CSN.
That's Tim already tried.
Oh. This side of the table.
I'll say Hastings.
And where did that leave, Mr. Patch? What did I say?
Maintenance.
Thank you. So Pearl, you have me as OCSBA, then going down the list of schools, it's Nickerson, McCarthy, Wood, Fishman, Loyer, Hoyt, Sundit, Patch. Okay. All right. Item F, subsection F under G is the voting delegates to New York State school boards. Don't worry right now about whether or not we're going. That's a discussion for a later time, but we need a voting delegate and an alternate.
I nominate Chance.
I can find that nomination.
She skipped out last year and I had to do it, so it's her turn.
Oh, that's true.
I don't
That's true.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. Probably not.
It's not gonna happen, so take it. This is the year.
I think we should do it.
What's that?
Wait a minute.
Mr. Lawyer? Okay.
What?
Yep. Perfect. And Mrs. Nixon as the alternate.
Sure.
There we go.
Library it is.
I like that.
Pearl, do we need to list anyone else interested in attending? Because we ended up doing a vote when we get closer, if it happens anyway.
Yeah, that's how we've been doing do have
I
to
know,
call
and that's what's better.
Oh, is it?
that's coming up with it.
What?
Your
On your
birthday.
birthday.
Yeah.
They're really taking reservations right now?
Yeah, it was thrilling. I did it last year. It was thrilling. You guys made it.
So, runner up.
She's the alternate.
Again, this is the reorganization meeting, so we are.
So I guess we do need to list if by some miracle that the school board convention happens, who's interested in going. So show of hands. So Pearl, you got that?
Wait, you have to-
Yeah. No. 1, 2. Yeah. No, and Sunday. See, the longer we go, the more hopping on.
So pretty much everyone but Randy and Lori? Wait,
And
did
this-
you raise your hand?
I raised it.
There you go.
I'm in.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Lori, yeah,
Yeah,
reconsider. You should go.
and if you're remotely interested, put the name here, because we still have plenty of time, so it doesn't lock you in. Well, and that's part of the
It's
discussion.
virtual, we can have it at my house.
All right, so I think everyone, Randy, I believe.
So they'll drink.
Did you want me to do it?
I think we can drink it
Yes,
anyway.
yes, we'll do that before we go.
I think Tim's camp is on there.
All right, appointees to the board policy committee. So this is one of those weird things that the board president in theory can just appoint people, but I really don't think you guys want to be on a committee you don't want to be on. So who would be interested in the policy committee?
I will.
Would?
You want safety this time? You want safety this time?
Randy, you're
The
gonna
board right now is determining.
Wait, are you on policy?
No.
Or were you just doing Saturday Night Live? Okay.
No, I guess Mike, because he didn't realize that last
It is currently 88 degrees and the wind is blowing
We're
out.
trying to run a meeting here, dude. Anyone else in policy?
year. Do you want that? Do you want,
Well,
because I gotta go to a different one.
did you do the last one?
Safe,
P.S. You can,
do more than one? No thanks.
you absolutely can do more than one. We also don't have to limit it to 4 people because our committee meetings are open to the public as is. So just in case you all want to jump on. So I just, Ms. Wood and Mr. Hoyt right now on policy?
Oh, I'll do it. It's the worst me ever.
Mr. Patch has an enthusiastic yes. All right, then the audit committee.
I'll do the audit.
I'll do all.
All right,
You want to do safety? It's in both of your wheelhouses. So I'll go back out.
No, I think it was only one.
So, all right, Mr. McCarthy, Mrs. Fishman, and Mrs. Nickerson for audit. And then the safety meeting,
Can it only be one because they both are interested?
Pearl? There's one spot, or will they, or do you want to?
It's always only one.
Give her safety, I'll take audit. Where I've been.
No, you're crazy. Why is it only one?
It's a district safety committee, so I don't know who determines the makeup, but that's not the board.
I'm sure it's policy.
Maureen is on it. I was on it this year. Maureen was there. Maybe was.
Yeah, if you want to have more than one, that's fine.
Yeah, do you want to just check, is Maureen the head of that committee? Just make sure that's good.
Not, on which committee?
Audit, safety, yeah.
Maureen, is it okay if there's 2 board members on the audit committee?
Safety.
Sorry, the safety committee? Yes.
Yes. Yeah, there doesn't have to be any, but so as whoever wants to be on it is fine, as long as it's obviously not more than 5.
Can't hear you, Maureen. Just kidding.
He's joking because I think everybody in the school heard that.
Oh, wow.
So Mrs. Sundit, Mr. Loyer, and are we still McCarthy, Fishman, and Nickerson on audit? Or did, you were only gonna do audit if you weren't on safety, was that the deal?
You might do it all.
Everybody? All right, so
You-
add
you
more
want
to
both?
audit.
Okay.
Yeah, he's living the dream right now. All right,
It's not easy.
or before we vote on G, now that we've got it all filled out, we're gonna have Pearl administer the oath to Mr. Patch, and that way he's a legitimate voting member for item G. Done.
Oh, I brought this just for you.
I need to hear you.
Hold a minute.
He's already been voted in. He's already been
No,
voted
hold a
in.
minute.
We'll swear him in.
Yeah, don't administer.
Steve, I can't hear you. Steve, I couldn't hear that.
Steve, back to the official.
Nobody.
Regardless, could be a big party as far as I'm concerned.
Congratulations. All right.
I'll shake your hand if you want.
Now that
I think this whole place is not.
Now that the entire team has signed their agreements, can I get a motion to accept item G as stated?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mrs. Fishman with the motion, Mrs. Nickerson with the second. Any discussion on G other than what we've already got? All those in favor? And it's unanimous. Thank you. I will make a motion for item H in its entirety. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Loyer. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Can I get a motion for item I, readopt of the code of ethics?
Motion. Second.
Mr. McCarthy and Mr. Loyer with the second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Make a motion for item J. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Sorry, Martin and Loyer. Any discussion on J?
The only question I have on J is in A, how do we determine who the parent members on the committee for special education?
They volunteer.
I know they're volunteers, but so if someone was interested in volunteering, who would they go to?
They would have to have a child usually, or have a child that's in the special ed area. And then they can go and talk to Dr. Collins or whatever. These people serve when there are parents of kids. The parents don't show up for their IEP, so these parents volunteer.
That is accurate. I could have her chime in, but she's not a yes.
I just wanted to clarify that because I've got a few people say they wanted to do one.
So is the question in the future, is there a way, are we proactively going out and asking, or are we just
No,
asking something who's already gonna?
Well, Dr. Collins is doing a good job with those monthly meetings, and people have said to her, hey, I'd like to be an advocate over this, so I, basically with her meetings, it's her kind of way to attract people that are interested.
But so the only one that we're approving today is Robert Nickel? That's
So,
right.
so Tom, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me? So I actually spoke with Bethany because I had a question about the surrogate parent also. The surrogate parent and parent members or parent advocates are actually two different things. The surrogate parent, Mr. Nickel, is for when we have the need for a parent to act as an actual parent for a child. So when we have the need for an actual parent or guardian or a child who's in need, maybe a child who is experiencing maybe a McKinney-Vento situation or something like that, and we need an actual parent or guardian representative, a surrogate parent, we would ask Mr. Nickel to act or be there to act as a parent for that child. If a parent called and requested parent advocacy or a parent member to help them navigate as a parent representative to help that parent in addition to help them advocate for their child, we certainly would link them with a parent advocacy agency and help them find someone that they're comfortable with to be at that meeting with them. So that parent, we have different agencies that we work with and different parent members that they would be able to choose someone to help sit with them during the meeting time to be with them. So we have different agencies to be able to link them with for parent members of children in our district who have disabilities. And they'd be able to choose someone that they're comfortable with.
Okay, so we are going to vote on the appointment, and it says parent member, and it only has Robert Nickel. Is that supposed to have these agencies listed as well, or other parents that are available for people to select, or?
So he's being appointed as our surrogate parent. It's a different responsibility. Parent members are no longer mandated by the state, but a parent is always able to ask for someone to sit with them. So we don't have to, we're not mandated to list them anymore, but we have different agencies and parent membership groups that we're able to link parents with, and they can choose someone.
So in A and B then, should we strike that name? If the parent has the ability to
Choose the
choose
parent
their
member.
own, then should we even list it if it's not?
Right. I'm just wondering why we're listing only one if they're allowed.
We have to list a surrogate parent.
We have
Right,
that too.
we have that in
See,
C, but it's also listed under A and B on committees of special education and preschool special education as a parent member if necessary.
Sorry, I don't have it in front of me.
It says A, district committee on special education committee. C is surrogate parent. So what they're saying is we can strike it from the other two. So nickel would only be where it says surrogate parent, is what they're saying.
You can. I mean, I had Bethany overlook it with me. Surrogate parent, we need to have parent members, you know, if necessary, we're able to have someone with us. I don't think the language is anything we have to strike. A parent can always have someone with them. We just don't have to list out the names of the parent members.
Okay.
So, okay.
Well, it does caveat it with if necessary, so it leaves it open for discretion if Paul Smith wants to jump in lieu of Robert Nickel. Robert
Then he
Nickel
can.
is just the if necessary.
okay.
Correct.
So he is the, like, and no, if there's no one.
For the surrogate parent, yes.
I leave it as is.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Collins.
Any other
Okay.
discussion? All right, all those in favor of item J? Thank you. And, okay. Yeah. Get a motion for item K, insurance coverage.
Make the motion.
Second.
Mr. McCarthy with the motion, Mr. Loy with the second, and discussion. All those in favor? Thank you. And a motion for item L. Mr. Loy with the motion, Mrs. Nickerson with the, wait, Mr. Loy with the motion, Mrs. Nickerson with the second. That's not what I said. Any discussion on L? All those in favor? And it passes. And with that, I make a motion to close the annual organizational meeting. Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Wood, I think, over there. Oh, Chrissy. I missed it.
Sound same.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
The reorg.
Thank you. Number one, on to the other. So I'll call the regular meeting to order. We've already done the flag salute. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. McCarthy. Any discussion on the agenda? All those in favor? Thank you. Tom, since you are running the online portion, can you see if anyone is interested in speaking to the board?
Yes. Was there anybody that wanted their 2 minutes to speak to the board? If so, please raise your hand. No, there was not.
All right. In that case, we'll dispense with the community open forum. And then move into, Carol, I'm making sure. Yes. I will make a motion that the Central Square School District Board of Education hereby move into executive session to discuss matters leading to the appointment or tenure of two particular people and negotiations conducted pursuant to the Taylor Law involving the central administration with action to follow. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Loyer. Any discussion?
Do we need 2 days for everything that's sent out, or we still have to wait?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion on that? And where are we going, by the way?
Can we go to the yeah, we can just sit here.
We can stay here. They can go and just mute this.
Okay, all
And
those
it's
in favor?
concluded, right? We are now going into executive session for the reasons the board president had said. We are now unmuted. Back from executive session.
Did the owl come back up?
You can turn the owl on here.
It is. Did it come back up?
Yeah.
Let me see the eyes.
In the interest.
Right on the front.
Yeah. It should be coming back up. There
Oh,
it
I
goes.
see
See
there
the
it is.
owls? He should hoop. Should hoop too.
I'm going meeting owl camera. Yep, now it is.
Excellent.
All right, let me get this.
It's not on here, but I'm making a motion to move back into open session. Oh. Pro, just go with what I say.
You ready then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're in.
All right.
We're past the.
Make a motion that we move back into open session. Can I have a second? Second by Mrs. Fishman, I heard first. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. And can I get a motion to accept item D, personnel, instructional and non-instructional? Mr. McCarthy with the motion, Mrs. Sunday with the second. Any discussion on item D? All those in favor? Unanimous. And I will make a motion for item E, the consent agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Lloyd. Any discussion on E?
The only question I have is on the extracurricular activity memorandum, Tom. I saw that it was only for 1 year. Is there any particular reason why, is this something that's gonna get worked into contracts in the future, them getting this percentage for off-season work, or is this just for the coming year?
We just wanted to go 1 year to see what was gonna happen.
Okay.
But the plan is that it's gonna be moving on after that. Usually you would sunset something like that, it's brand new.
Okay.
And then after that, we're looking to work that in because it's gonna be worked into their account. We don't wanna have MOAs all the time.
Okay.
When we do the real negotiations, it'll be worked in.
John, one thing on that is the cart's waiting for the horse here, but as far as assessing that performance, is there going to be a report that's submitted by the individual to the AD, to the SI, or is it all going to just be word of mouth? This is what I did, this is what I didn't do.
No, good question. So the first thing that's happening, and it's written in there, the date was like August 28th.
Yep.
So already, Jim Dranzak is meeting with all the varsity coaches, the head coaches, and he is making a criteria, not just for the head coaches, but in collaboration with them to say, okay, this is what the JV assistants should be, whatnot. When that is done, it's in the process now, an email is going to go to each of those coaches with a list of what their responsibilities are. Jim will be evaluating them, and you'll see, like in the summer, normally Jim's on his little gator, he's driving around, he's watching all of that. Ron Halden will be doing the exact same thing. He's going to have the same meetings, the same emails, so that it's going to be spelled right out. They know that if the person doesn't do what they said they were going to do, then they're not going to get the 15%.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point. They were talking about accountability across the board, all these different things we do, and yeah, people are going to get tired of being looked at. But I think that's pivotal here is you're asked to do something, you've got it written on paper, you're going to get paid for it. Let's be legitimate about it. Let's not just check the box and say, yeah, it's done. Let's actually do it and make sure it's getting done. Because ultimately, it's the kids in the end who either get the service or don't get the service. And that's all I'm asking.
I think Dranzak will be a pit bull on it, to be very
And he may, I'm just saying, let's make it real. Let's not just check the box and make it.
Absolutely. And the teacher union president liked it too, because she understood when I said to her, we have auditors, and the auditors want to come in and say, what was the criteria that you used and whatnot. So just a better way of doing it.
So was that actually, that's getting added to, or that's an agreement with the Central Florida Teachers Association, but not all of the coaches and everything are Central.
Correct, but it's in their contract, so we had to go, it's actually listed in the CSDA contract. All extracurricular and coaching is actually listed in there, so we have to go in that MOA with them, it's in there. But correct,
How do you
some,
cover the other people that aren't?
same way.
Yeah, they're covered by it.
They're covered by it?
Correct, like the football coach is a special ed teacher at like Janesville, DeWitt. So he's still covered in that. He still has to do all those things. The only reason why it's listed per se as CSDA is because it's actually in the contract.
I have to claim I totally missed something, and as you know, I generally read things, but I missed the, the item E10, resolution of scheduling discrepancy with CSSPA.
Okay. So there were two teaching assistants that fall under the category of sysops. So it was off, I believe, 30 minutes. I could have Arena jump in and explain that.
No, just so, because I missed it, and now like, I'm taking ownership on that one, but yeah, what are we approving? It's, we're changing, adding 30 minutes to their schedule?
Correct.
Okay.
So it's
but
30 minutes.
Legitimate work and.
They didn't even want, they wanted to keep doing it. And, but in fairness to Leanne Stone, who at the time was the president, saying, well, no, like they didn't want to rock the boat. Those two sysops are amazing, but it's what they were entitled to. We've seen it, we rectified the situation.
Right thing to do.
Yep. And they're amazing workers.
All right, any other discussion on E? All those in favor? That's unanimous.
So is Dean for the record. Amazing.
A second.
Let's not forget Pearl.
Let's see, there's no special presentations?
I don't get it.
That means we move into reports, so I'll open it up to the board for anything, topics or discussions you want to bring up. Assuming that Tom's going to talk about school reopening and all the details around that in his superintendent's report.
Yep.
Anything else you want to bring up?
Yep, I would just like to say how thankful I am that we're all meeting in person. It's really nice to see everybody.
Agreed.
I know it's
Maybe
Higher
next time it'll be a
seasons
little
here, but-
cooler, but.
Yeah.
other than
I was
that,
gonna say,
it's really nice to see it.
No, not yet. Ms. Fishman, anything for you?
I did, but I can't remember what it was. I'll think of it.
All right. I don't have anything because we're going to discuss what I would have brought up later. So, except simply to offer kudos to Kristen Enright and everyone that was involved in graduation. Everyone agrees, less than ideal situation, but I would argue there's not a school that did it better. I think it was phenomenal. All my relatives, and when I say relatives and friends, raved about it, loved it, thought it was meaningful. Kids had a blast. They thought it was great.
Tons of positive.
Yeah, great job.
Yeah.
Everyone.
And again, you hit the nail on the head. That's Kristen Enright. That's Connie Galvan working closely with her. That's Soluri, O'Malley, Damon Villeneuve. They did a phenomenal job. They really did.
And special thanks to all the parents that provided snacks and drinks for the
Yeah.
parents, staff, and everyone that was sitting there all day. Great job. And with that,
The only complaint I have is listening to Pomp and Circumstance for 9 hours.
9 hours.
Steve's got it as his ringtone now. So.
Yeah.
My neighbors were loving it. They tell every time. That's
And Aaron Phillips was singing it. It's a small world.
Oh my gosh.
Save us.
I guess here
That was good. Oh, don't touch it.
You ready for me?
No, no delay.
Tom may have clarified this for the record, I guess. Tom may have clarified this already about the milk and the milk catastrophe that happened over in town. Let me clarify something there for the public. When we had, 4,000 gallons donated and it was being distributed over at the middle school, at one point I opted to try to transfer a pallet. It was going to be 2 pallets at one point from that school to the high school, so we put them into storage and then it would get redistributed. Everything went very smoothly until we got to the transition of 11 and 12, right?
Yeah, 11 and 12.
And it's a bit of a contour angle. My truck, obviously it tipped over. So we lost maybe 40 half gallons.
Not even, it's like 20.
But there was a big to-do. Somebody thought we were dumping milk in Central Square to get rid of it because we couldn't give it away. I just want to be on the record. That was nowhere near what happened. My truck could have taken a hell of a hit. Fortunately, it didn't. So we were trying to do the right thing, trying to get the milk to where it was supposed to be. so that Tom could use it, and Dave could use it moving forward. And in all honesty, I'd do it again. We got another opportunity coming up on the 23rd, and we may be in that again. So if you see more milk getting spilled in town, and a white truck involved, it's probably not on purpose.
The cow-related incident was possibly the only thing missing from 2020, so I'm glad we.
No, and I want to thank Mike for that. He was there pretty much the entire day, delivering milk to VFW. You went to Constantia as well. Yep. Any place that needed it. The Brewerton Methodist Church, where they have a lot of our kids there. So that was great.
So you bring up a good point. Prompted me to think about it. The Cafe Park, I know, just as one example. I know they're doing food giveaways during the weekends. I'm just wondering if there's something we can do on our website, because now that our food distribution changes, that we can make sure that
we're supposed to. That. So if we're a school district that doesn't have the CEP there, the summer feeding program, we have to list, like I already have, but I'm going to do it again once we're not doing our Tuesdays. It's going to list the food banks, but can you send me that information?
They did it today.
Okay, and I'll add that to it.
Monday.
July 23rd, as Mr. Lawyer just said, we're going to have another American Dairy Association Northeast is going to be given 2,000 gallons of whole milk and 400 boxes of produce and 400 boxes of dairy products. Yep, that's going to be from 12 o'clock to 3:30, and we already have, I put something out, we have 15 volunteers from our district that want to come there and help as well. All right, superintendent report. Let's just quickly talk about the fall. So originally, school districts were going to be given information in June and have parameters and guidelines of what the plans need to look like. That never happened. So as a result of that, there's no way that our plans are going to be due in on the original July 15th because we were given no parameters. So I had a reporter from, the Post-Standard, Snickers.com contact me today. When I was explaining all this, I think this person understood the situation predicament that we're in. So the governor has not come out and said, okay, this is what it will look like, which is kind of odd because he's had very clear metrics that are used to determine each of the phases. And the state has school districts that are in different phases. They won't always have to be lockstep. So what I wish is that the governor would come out and say, okay, if your region is at this level of metrics, then you then can do this and open up like a category, whether it's every student comes in or whether it's a hybrid version of distance learning and in-person. But what are we doing right now is the $1 million question. So we're in the process right now. The administrators have already been talking about this. It's part of our cabinet meetings regularly. But the principals have been talking about this. I've been talking with Lynn Dowler and the CSTA leadership with this. We're in the process now of creating committees to be able to look at the 9 categories that the Regional Reopening Task Force has identified. I don't need to get into all of them, but special education is a big one. Busing is a big one. Teaching and learning, that's going to be distance learning, it's remote. And then personnel, and there are other ones. The big things that we're looking to do is we just recently put out a parent survey regarding the feedback for distance learning. We've had almost 700 responses already from parents. Some are amazing, saying, wow, you guys turned on a dime. March 13th hit, March 16th, distance learning, that was amazing. But in any organization or any school district, it's not always the same for everybody. So some parents had an amazing experience because the teachers were really up to speed on technology. Remember, we've been using one-to-ones for Chromebooks for 3 years. Teachers have used, like we talked a little about, Google Classroom, some have used Schoology. But what we've really come to understanding is we have to really limit the number of platforms because it's too much. What we're starting to see right now from parents is that it's impossible. They're pulling their hair out trying to learn all these different platforms and all these apps. They could have three or four children, and they could have 8 different apps and 10 different apps, 3 different platforms. So we're trying to mainstream it. Now, again, that's going to upset some teachers and make some teachers extremely happy because maybe they like certain things in a platform. The overall consistent message that we're getting from parents right now is we did a really good job posting assignments, but we needed to have a better platform to actually deliver instruction. Nobody wants to have to be distance learning. I'll be the first to say in the fall, we would love everyone to be able to be back in. With that being said, we've already had equal amount of parents on either side. Some saying, there's no way I'm gonna send my kid back in unless there's a vaccine. And then other ones are saying, I'm dropping my kid off in September, figure it out. So we're trying to figure all of this out.
And they're serious.
Dead serious, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're serious.
So there's,
And they're not bad parents either.
so there's different scenarios. Other districts are saying, okay, if we do elementary, then we just kind of talked about this before the meeting started, but I want this to be on the record. So some reporters were like, oh, Mr. Calabufo, can't we just have all elementary kids full on, and then it won't be such of a daycare issue, supervision for parents? Well, the problem with that is the governor was very clear with, there's going to be restrictions. He hasn't said 10 kids in a classroom or 12 kids, but it's not going to be 25. So some people are saying, well, Tom, why don't you utilize the middle school and high school, have those kids do distance learning, spread the elementary kids out. We can't magically, create, nor can we afford to hire another 150 to 175 teachers to be able to do that all at the same time. So we're looking at different scenarios. We're excited to see what this committee is talking about. Some people have mentioned what if there's an A day and a B day across the board for all grade levels. A day, you got Mrs. Smith's third grade class. Half the class would be there on A day. The B kids would be at home working on something that would then be assessed and gone over by the teacher on a B day. And then on Wednesday, it could be like complete clean day, sanitizing, because I'm assuming there's going to be massive restrictions on what schools have to do with a timeline of cleaning of buses, just full cleans. And then Thursday, you repeat it. So there would technically be like 2 home distance learning days and then 2 in-school days. Now, again, these are just scenarios. I don't want everyone to look at this like, oh, they already have their plan. Why are we doing the committees? These are just ideas. Because at the end of the day, the governor is going to come out and say, here are the parameters. And what I'm hoping he doesn't do is says, if you can't do all of these, well, then you're just going to have to do full-on distance learning. Because we have 200 square miles in our district. We have 100 buses. If we had to go, when I'm hearing rumors, 1 kid in a seat, the next 3 seats have to be empty. We would need a lot more bus drivers, hundreds more bus drivers. Our bus runs would start at 3 in the morning and go until 11 o'clock at night. So the problem is we have gotten nothing from the governor of state ed and say, here are the parameters. So they're saying that possibly next week, but remember, with the budget, they said we were going to get our numbers in May. That never happened. They said we'd get those numbers in June of what the state aid reduction. That hasn't happened. We're now creeping up halfway through July. We haven't had that yet either. So what we're doing as a district, and I want this to be for the record, is we are looking at every possible scenario. So if something were to happen, okay, this is the restrictions, this is how we can do it. No matter what, if there's any distance learning we want to improve. I know a lot of teachers that have said to me they live in other districts. By far, we were 100% better than the districts that their kids lived in, where it was just assignments were posted by grade level. There was no differentiating. Kids were either super bored or super overwhelmed, and parents were feeling frustrated that they had to learn all of these, different things. So we're looking at all of the feedback. I spend probably 2 hours at night, and I know Connie is looking at these, Aaron's looking at these, Dr. Collins looking at these, Rain is looking at these, all of the different, I don't want to say critiques, because some are really positive, but parents, there are themes. I want to be able to put those into categories and then share them with the board. So you're going to see the teacher themes, and then you're going to see the parent themes. Some of the teacher ones right now are more of the platforms that they feel near to because they like it. I don't blame them for that. But at the end of the day, we have to limit the amount of things that parents would have to learn at home. But we're all working our tails off.
To date, what's the best estimate of the budget impact of what's happened so far? And there's a follow-up, so whatever, it doesn't tell the whole story, right, what it is today.
So now, are you saying what our carryover is, or are you saying what? Okay, I would have Maureen. Why don't you jump in? I don't want to be off on the numbers. Andy, did you hear what he said? What's the kind of carryover?
We're not even close to the year end, obviously. It's only 7 days into July. We haven't even got the bank statements yet. But we definitely saved more money than it cost us. We spent more on some extra personnel hours. Obviously, the voting was expensive. We had to we bought those 360 Clorox machines that we're going to be using in the chemicals. So those were the costs, but we definitely have some savings on 3 months of no subs, fuel, some bigger categories like that. So I think we're going to be all right with our year end. I'm hoping that we had appropriated with $1.5 million that we're not going to be using that. So that's kind of my really estimated look at it right now.
Which will help us brace if the governor does what he did to the small cities and hits us with a total 20% slam reduction to state aid. That could be another $4 or $5 million we'd have to come up with.
And I will say too, and you guys, I know the board's probably heard it, but my recommendation, if we have that, is that we're going to leave unappropriated fund balance, even if we go over the 4%, to use it into next year against whatever state aid they take away from us.
And that's what the other superintendents do.
I support that every year, regardless of.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Yep.
Well, and I just want to say this quickly because I had some great conversations, hundreds of conversations with parents and voters that really understood when they were saying, how come all, these other districts weren't putting out the increase that we had put out. And what I came back with to say is, when you look at our fund balance and our reserves is what I want to say, we were, what, Maureen, 12 million? And they had between 16 and 20 million, and they're a fraction of our size. So we don't carry that much. We have enough just in case horrible things happen, but we don't carry over. In those other districts, they get dinged by their auditors, but we are compliant, and sometimes being compliant with that puts us in the spot.
Well, Tom, here's what I'll give you just food for thought consideration. Because what I do every day, there's a million ideas out there until you attach a price tag to it, and then you can't do it. So really, you can float a lot of different scenarios, but at the end of the day, it has to be within budget. And you can come up with the greatest ideas, but if you can't pay for them, you're not going to be able to do them. I mean, to the point where we were going to clean everybody's. I mean, you're talking 400 leases and almost 200 federal buildings. We're going to clean everybody's space before they come in until they got the price tag. And then you know what you said? No, we're not doing that. So it's not that important. So at the end of the day, we can only do what we can do. So as you float out a gazillion ideas and a gazillion scenarios, at the end of the day, I know I have found within the federal buildings some judicial proceedings and juries getting selected. This is all new over the last 2 weeks. Once you did it, everybody realized, oh, this isn't so bad. What did we get all worked up? And I would suggest to anybody, look at Senator Paul's questions to Dr. Fauci. Okay, watch what he has to say about kids, COVID, and transmission of kids throughout the world and the statistics on it. Kids don't transmit it. Okay, and I understand we're up against the government, and it's a whole nother 10-hour conversation. But at the end of the day, you can only do what you're budgeted to do. So you can't hire 150 more teachers. We can't build 5 more buildings. We can't buy 300 more buses. It is what it is.
Yeah, but I think the point, Steve, what you just said is once you saw the price tag, you didn't care. The problem is the person making the decisions is the one that's paying for the price tag. And so he can make whatever restrictions he wants. And then
yeah, and that's the problem because this, even if we're whatever we are, we're under budget, right? Because of these circumstances. It's a false number. The estimate from NISBA right now, and taking a conservative number based on what they think might actually happen for our district, would probably be $7 to $8 million of additional cost in whatever reopening scenario they come up with. That's the conservative estimate. And that's awful enough until you talk about they've already cut other school budgets by 20%. So now you're talking an additional $16 million. So $23 million gap on an $80 million.
And I'll piggyback on that. So you want to talk about unfunded mandates. If the governor comes out and says splash guards, we didn't have the budget for that. If they say temperatures before kids get on the buses, that would have to put a monitor on every bus. It's just like OCC just put something out, it was a nice article, and said they canceled fall sports just because they know right now they can't afford all the restrictions that you have to do scholastically to be able to do those things. So as we get more, I'm just hoping he gives us something, we don't go into August having like all these scenarios ready to go, because then parents get frustrated and they think it's the school, right? I know.
It's the second week of July, so what I'm saying is that I don't think we need 30 different scenarios, because ultimately, at the end of the day, well, let's do this. If you don't have the fundamentals of looking at the price tag of that,
right,
it's just a wishful wish.
Right.
And this is going to cost money. I mean, we're down to wiping stuff. It's called Ghostbuster Pack. This thing fogs stuff.
Yeah.
Correct.
Ooh, you can do this room in about 15 seconds.
But it's like what we talked about earlier.
It's not on hard surfaces.
But it comes down to trust too and communication. So we just have to be able to be transparent with the parents and community members to say the why.
I would ask all the board members to do our part, but then you also with nice cross. Council of School Superintendents, School Board Association of New York, Central New York, whatever. They are abjectly failing in their role in this entire thing. There is no call to the governor to let districts, superintendents lead. And so I would love it if they would at least come out with that, because granted, he can't control what he's going to do with the budget and everything else. We put a heck of a lot of pressure on, hey, all we're asking for is let his local school district make some decisions. And don't let them do this stupid thing to Steve's point about it being all about safety. It's not, because if it were, you'd be saying a lot of different things than you want.
Right. This is a goddamn scam, is what it is. It's a scam. The day after the election, you won't hear a goddamn word about COVID. You won't hear a word about it. It fell off the track when the protests started. You didn't hear a word about COVID.
Yep.
Fell off the track. This is a goddamn scam. Period. The deaths are down, there's spikes in numbers. Where's all the spikes from the protesters? They're not there.
Right.
They're not there. That Fauci should have been fired 8 weeks ago. That has nothing to do with this fight. They got to get kids back in school, period, end of statement. They got to get kids back in school. And our school board should be yelling at the top of their lungs that. And everything I read in that damn article they sent out, it's like, well, no, they got to get kids back in school. The Association of Pediatrics said it at all costs. Get them back in school.
And you got to weigh both. So it's like, I can't tell you how many times Connie's been on the phone with parents where there's either mental illness or extreme depression. What people are forgetting is Oswego, New York, leads the entire state in suicide. So yes, we get the fact that it hits the elderly communities or people that are susceptible, but we also have to look at the other side of that as well. By having these kids all at home, the downside of that are really bad things that are happening. Correct.
I'm thankful that we've collected the data that we have, because we'll be able to measure this, because we've got the numbers now. And we'll be able to see whether it stayed the same, whether it went down. I mean, my gut tells me that they're going to go down big time. What's our rating score is going to be? We know what it was, but we'll know now. And I just can't. It is unbelievable that a district of this size that we don't have the ability to plan for the second week in September. It's unbelievable.
The comment about the whole hard surface, CDC comes out and says it's on hard surface. It is not on hard surface. No. That was right from the beginning.
Well,
they didn't know that.
Well, in the beginning, they were saying, wipe your groceries off, take them out,
Absolutely.
and all that crap.
These damn masks are a scam. They're a scam.
Oh, anything else?
Yes. Graduation, I wanted to say, we already did. Great job to Kristen Enright and her team. That was amazing. It was long. Thanks for all the board members that were there. Some of you stayed the entire time. It was 9 hours. And that was great. We have a COVID screening form right now that is online that anybody coming into our building, staff members, have to fill it out. It talks about, have you had a fever? Like, do you have a fever? And then it lists other different symptoms, but that are not normal. So if someone normally has allergies and they normally have all of this stuff, okay. But the fever, obviously, it's nothing new. If somebody has a fever, they shouldn't come to work anyway. Right? So we're in compliance. Again, we just make that up and say, hey, let's do this. We have to have that form. Playgrounds, again, I have to do what the governor says to do. We, in the health department, it still said we have to keep our playgrounds closed. Even though they say ultraviolet outside kills it all, we have people from health department, people from the governor's office that seem that they are checking on stuff, like when they shut down, which I can't even remember now, one of the school districts locally was, not in our county, but their graduation was, yeah, New Hartford, yeah, twice. So we're basically having to comply with that. I have to go out probably twice, 3 times a week to tell the kids you can't have full-on soccer, like pickup games, banging into each other on our stadium. Whether, you know, whatever I think, I put that aside and I say, okay, this is what we have to follow or we're gonna get in trouble as a district. So I'll continue, and the people are always good when I have the conversation. That's pretty much it. Those are the things that I wanted to bring up. The biggest thing is obviously what the fall is gonna look like. If we were to get something tomorrow, obviously I would share that out with the entire community and the staff and say, here are at least the guidelines, so people know what we're dealing with. That concludes my report.
Just one follow-up question. Is there a date, because the one complaint, and it's not a complaint necessarily against the district, but the struggle with it is there a date by which if the governor and his majesty doesn't give clear guidance, that they will cancel, for instance, summer/fall sports or whatever it is? Because all families are struggling right now with this, just, it's like day by day. Do we do this? Do we do this? No, something might start up. So is there a date that we're going to decide that we just can't feasibly carry it out?
If you were to ask me a week ago, I would say let's wait and see, but now I realize we have to come up with a date. And the only problem with that is I want to collaborate more with people, because there are some people who go, well, wait a minute, why is Calabufo putting the brakes on when we could have a season?
Sure.
And I would feel bad, especially let's say it's a football player, this is their senior year, or any sport. So I want to be very careful about saying if it goes past this day, we're done. Right. I do want to make concessions because I know, band, you would know more than me, the one that they have to do in the fall, they're going to do it in the spring. Which one is that? Field band, Winter Guard. So they have to do March, right? What's the one in order?
You have to participate in both. Is what
So what I've already mentioned, I had a conversation with Ron Huldman and Andy Graziano, is because the uncertainty, I want families right now, if you're planning a summer vacation, take that summer vacation. Be with your family as opposed to waiting and waiting, because I don't personally think that the governor's going to come out. He sidestepped it today. If you watch the press conference, I don't think they're going to come out and say, okay, you can have it. He canceled the fair today. You can't have any in-person special ed programs at all over the summer. So, I'm sorry, in-person summer school. So I can't imagine they're going to say, okay, but yeah, you can have sports and whatnot that would normally be starting August 1st. Right? So again, it's just my opinion. I don't think it's going to happen in the fall for sports and for music. I think he's going to come out and say that, but I just need a little bit more time on coming up with a date.
All right. Move into the home stretch here. Items for discussion and action. There will be discussion on this one, but, sorry, I'm not sure. Item H1, approval of the second reading of proposed district policies. These will become policy if they're passed. So can I have a motion for that?
Motion second.
Mr. McCarthy, second by Mr. Loyer. Any discussion on district policies? All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. And a motion for item H2, approval of the National School Board Association dues. Motion by Mr. McCarthy, second by Mr. Loy, and I'll start the discussion. Pearl, what do we lose? What do we lose if we don't renew this? National School Board Association? Yeah. Because I see no value in that.
What do we get out of it?
What do we
Piece of paper, that stupid magazine shows up.
No, that's New York State, so we still get that.
Oh.
Yeah,
Because I know
we'll
that
get
you
that
read
one.
it.
This is where they usually have it, Salt Lake City, and they have it out west.
Maureen, the question is, what would they lose by not keeping the National School Board Association?
I don't have it in front of me, but Andy, I think I sent it to you last year when you asked about this. There was a gentleman sent the email and he kind of went on and on about, you know, they advocate, they help, they guide, but I don't really think You don't participate in any of those.
Nope.
They advocate for the big cities.
So,
As long as you have state.
I don't want to pay them.
As long as you have state.
yeah, so I definitely will be voting against this one. I'm all for not rejoining national. New York, I actually think has some value to it, but the national done most of it. So, any other discussion?
So we can just vote against it.
And it
Yeah.
just
So we
won't
send the
happen.
motion and just vote.
No, we will be voting against, yeah. I mean, you're either voting to renew or not, so, yeah. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of renewing National School Board Association? All those against?
That's gotta be a first.
Unanimous against, Pearl.
Make sure you get it on the right line.
And-
Wait, is there a meeting in that?
Yeah, but I will send a letter to them with our not paying the bill thing.
Just a thought before we close up, is it possible to leave these set up for the next couple meetings when nobody's gonna be in here? Rather than having somebody do the work of tearing down.
I don't see why we can't do that. Yeah, right? I mean, it's not used for anything else. Well, the only thing is, we
Then
could
you don't
very well
even
be
have to
back with
sanitize.
air conditioning up there. If we are back with air conditioning, then we'll have it up there. If not,
Right?
Makes sense.
Then you don't even have to sanitize because.
Yes, and
Self-sanitize.
next Monday is a Zoom meeting only, right? So everyone knows that. Next meeting is a Zoom meeting only because it's
it's the emergency one about the abatement of Miller Hawk.
So
No
it's a-
personnel on.
no point in everyone driving in for it.
And then July 20th, because it would be just like this in the Zoom with the audience.
Yeah, until Bethany gives us different guidance. I mean, at this point, I think if someone were to show up, we can't keep them out as long as
Is it possible to do the 20th as a Zoom meeting?
we are not allowed to do,
Or once you're allowed to go in person?
yeah, and we'll verify that with Bethany, but.
Can
No,
we
no,
attend
no.
by Zoom? Because if you-
Oh, no,
No, we can have it just straight up Zoom anytime we want. Is that what your question was?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're,
That's a relatively quick meeting, isn't it? Is why-
No, the 13th.
the 13th is the
So is the 20th.
but it's not about, the problem, and we'll double check this with Bethany, is that the governor's executive order that allowed us to do non-public meetings has expired. And technically, a Zoom meeting, us participating is one thing, not allowing the public to be here or at locations, that's what is no longer covered. So for instance, when I would travel and I was in a hotel, I had to publicize that lobby in case someone wanted to come. And Tim, for instance, if you're at home, that's not a public location, it's a private, it's stupid, I get it.
so
but-
even if everybody, even us, even we were just doing Zoom, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and again, I'm fine with.
Okay, no,
Because other districts,
Flaunting to the governor.
other districts are just doing Zoom.
Zoom meeting if we wanted to do a Zoom meeting? Is it
Yeah, but
okay?
it's gotta be in a public place is what you said.
Oh,
I think we're the first in the county that's actually doing this right now, staying 6 feet apart and whatnot.
Well, I know City did an in-person meeting.
They did?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but
I don't see why we couldn't allow people to be here anyway. We can keep them all 6 chairs.
that's what I'm saying, but it has to be
Well,
less
the
than
only,
50
they have to be
people.
less than 50 people, so we would have to say no to people. How do you do that?
Oh, really?
Why don't we bring a bus in and put
We have to
everyone?
say no to anyone. How many people are on that?
One, two, three. Well,
Yeah,
just-
that are not, yeah.
All right, I will make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. Can I have a second? Second by Mrs. Dickinson. She beat you all. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you all for participating.
Have a great night.
Have a good night.
Thanks, electronic people.
Well, let's say,